All right, Jacksonville, it's time for a market update of all things that have happened in 2026 in the month of February. So let's get started. These numbers are for Northeast Florida and our Northeast Florida MLS for our residential homes. We're currently sitting at just under 10,000 homes. You may have heard that real estate is seasonal, but there has been a lot of talk about listing inventory and how much listing inventory has been rising. And it was, and it has been. But I want to tell you something. Don't believe all the big stuff. Listen to your local real estate agents, because I'm going to tell you something you may not know. Listing inventory has been rising and actually was at its highest peak in June of 2025. So the highest that we saw was June of last year, which was almost 5.5 months supply of inventory. And what this means is that if no other homes came up for sale, it would take about 5.5 months for all inventory. This is when you were seeing homes sitting for 90 days, 120 days. You might have even seen homes sitting longer than 6 months. Well, what's happened since then is the inventory has been going down. Some of that is seasonal because June and July are some of our highest selling months, meaning the most homes typically sell in our summer months. Quarters 2 and 3, we sell the majority. The majority of homes are sold. But what's happened since June is that listing inventory has been trending downward. In January of 2026, it was our lowest recorded in a very long time. We actually were about 4 months supply of inventory. It was 3.99. So right about 4 months. And we did take a slight increase in February to 4.16 months supply of inventory. Now, some of this is seasonal because August tends to be a very slow month for real estate in Northeast Florida, and also January, because most people are coming off that holiday high. They don't want to spend money. They're preparing their homes for sale. They're preparing for tax time. They're getting all their W-2s in. So there's a lot going on in January that typically doesn't include putting your home up for sale. But we do tend to see that change in February, and we did see that change in February. So a lot more homeowners chose to put their home on the market. We also saw a lot of buyers come into the market in February. Rates have been very steady. They've actually been some of the lowest we've seen in a really long time. So now for my geeky people, let's talk some more numbers. Our list to sales price ratio. This matters. There's so much involved with the list to sales price ratio, and where you start in your pricing can absolutely affect that. We see a direct correlation between the days on market and a lower list to sales price ratio. So these are averages and it doesn't tell the story of all, but typically for my homeowners who like to start high and drop a little and drop a little and drop a little, you typically will end up accepting a lower price than if you would just have priced that home correctly from the beginning. You would have avoided price reductions, you would have avoided days on market, and you would have avoided your listing becoming stale in the market and sitting unsold for months. And typically those that price their homes accordingly with the market, with what the buyers are expecting, the price for the condition, they were getting the higher. However, in March of 2025, that was our highest list to sales price ratio. It was at 94%. Now we've seen some trending downwards. Even through our busier months, we're actually seeing the list to sales price ratios go down. People want to sell in those months. In sellers markets, you would likely see those numbers increase because there are more buyers coming into the market. However, because those months we also had higher competition, we had more listings on the market, it actually did drive those prices down. What does that equate to? If you wanted to sell your house, you needed to wheel and deal with the buyers. It was their world and we were all just living in it. Our lowest point in October was 93%. So sellers on average were getting 93% of the list price. Now, here's where interviewing your realtor is important. Ask them, what is your average list to sales price ratio? Now, of course, if they're taking land listings, those are going to sit longer. So within your listing price point and in your area, what is their average list to sales price? If the average agent in the area is getting 93, 94%, and the agent you're interviewing says we get 98%, well then they've made more money than the average realtor. Completely worth compensation. This is where you get what you pay for. So ask a lot of questions. So what's been happening since October? We went a little up, we went a little down, and now we're trending back upward. February, we ended about 93.7, so we're getting closer to that 94% of the asking price. Some of this is because a lot more buyers did come into the market in February. We saw this. Homeowners were putting their home on the market in February and they were going under contract very fast. Some of these were new homeowners to the market. Some of them were owners who had previously listed their home, took it off the market, and came back on the market, which is a perfectly okay strategy so long as your pricing, your photos, your marketing, and everything else is completely different. And probably one of the most important things that buyers are looking for, make sure your condition is top notch. So we were just talking about how March of 2025 was actually our highest list to sales price ratio, and then it went down. Funny enough, when we were looking at our days on market in March, we were actually running around 75 days on market. Ever since then, the days on market has been increasing ever so slightly, a little like this, but we are ended up in February 90. 90 has been our average days on market. So if you're a homeowner and your home was on the market for 30 days and you thought that was too long, maybe it was for your area. But here's what I want to say about days on market. This is the average. 90 days on market is the average. When it comes to pricing your home, you need to decide how quickly you would like to sell your home. So if you and your realtor are looking at your home and they're saying, hey, the average home like yours within the reasonable same condition and square footage in your neighborhood is taking 90 days to sell, and you say, I want to sell my home in 30 days, well, then a substantial price reduction below the market would be necessary to sell your home significantly faster than the average. There's a lot of factors, and these are very, very important conversations that absolutely need to be had in any market, but especially in today's market when you are thinking of selling. Your individual market statistics in your neighborhood, in your area, need to be a high topic of conversation, because this tells a story about what your buyer is looking for, what they're willing to pay, and how quickly they're willing to pounce on it. These are the details that can be the difference in overpricing your home. So you want to work with a local expert that is truly studying the local market, not just in Northeast Florida, but in your local neighborhood. Overall, we haven't seen a huge amount of change from last year. Our sold listings from this time last year are only down about 3%. Now, our pending listings, that is down about 35%. A lot of this does have to do with sellers putting their home on the market at unrealistic prices and having unrealistic expectations of the market. So what I will say, don't just throw your home out there and see what happens. This isn't the market for that. If you're wanting to sell your home in today's market, it does need to be the best price, a great location, and the best condition. What I will say about today's buyer, they're willing to pay top dollar if, so long as you have your roof, your HVAC, your electric, your plumbing, all in order and all updated. If you have not been maintaining your home, please do not expect the buyer to take over that substantial cost. If your carpet needs to be replaced, replace it. If it needs to be cleaned, clean it. If you need to paint the outside of your home because you have a stucco house and you've owned it for 10 plus years and the sun's been beating on it and you got cracks that are looking like spider veins on somebody's legs, you need to paint your house. This is what buyers want. They want to purchase a home in good condition that has been maintained and has been upgraded. If you lived in your home for 10 years and you haven't done anything to upgrade or update your home, don't expect a buyer to then pay full price and then instantly have to sink in $30,000 to do the things that you weren't willing to do. And remember, a lot of areas, a lot of resale homes are having to compete with new construction. It's new, it's warrantable. There's a lot of things. There's pros and cons to new construction. However, there are two big pros to new construction. Number one is it's new. So they're not going to have to think about replacing the roof and HVAC, electric, and plumbing for a very long time. Likely, they won't even have to think about it because they will be selling before it's time to do those things, unlike a resale home. And the second one is, of course, the builder incentives. So if you are someone who is selling their home competing with new construction, just remember you can't be priced like a builder if you're not willing to give incentives like one. So if they're offering $40,000 in incentives for X price and you are also not able to offer $40,000 for X price, then likely your best option would be to come up with a strategic marketing plan at a lower price that is going to position you where there's a bigger buyer pool for your listings. I'd love to geek out with you anytime about numbers in the market. So if you are curious about what your home is worth, I'm not doing that online. A true professional would not be able to give you a home online. If you ask me, hey, Cece, what my home is worth, and I say, hey, let me give you this online estimate, you could go online and find an online estimate. That's not a market analysis. If you're looking for a true market analysis, a professional needs to come in your home. They need to see it, they need to smell it, they need to touch it, they need to drive the neighborhood. They need to know everything about the maintenance, what you have and haven't done, and what you are and are not willing to do to put your home on the market and get it ready for sale. All of these things in combination with what other homes are selling for and that condition in their view all determine what your home is worth. So this is what real professionals do, and this is why it's so important to interview. If you're thinking of selling your home in 2026, make sure that you download our list of questions to ask a listing agent when selling your home, or DM us. We'd be happy to get your home sold for you in 2026.